Hey guys, my name is Sharun Shetty. I'm the technical lead for tracking and planning component in Rational Team Concert. Today's demo will focus on rendering rich text content in Eclipse client. Let's first begin with the motivation for this feature. The first one being the numerous customer requests we get to add additional rich text such as images, tables, showing rich text in comments, etc. The next one being issues with the existing rich text editor in Eclipse client, which was delivered in 603. Some of the issues are focus issues in Mac, intermittent issues in other platforms, and a bunch of limitations which is published in the limitation article shown here. So we started our investigation on this. First, we looked at embedding the entire work item web UI in RTC Eclipse client instead of the native Eclipse editor, similar to the approach we took with Visual Studio Client. As we started our journey on this particular approach, we hit few major roadblocks. First one being memory leaks on Windows, and this was a result of a known bug due to issues between Eclipse and IE, which is the default internal browser. This bug exists for more than 10 years, and there is no solution or workaround for it. In addition to the memory leaks, CK Editor also says that the internal embedded browser in Eclipse is not a supported environment for them. With these two major blocking issues, we moved our investigation to another approach. So the next thing we looked at was making rich text in Eclipse client read-only and have edit capabilities for rich text in web client. With this approach, you can create new work items or edit work items which does not have any rich text using the traditional editor that comes in Eclipse client. However, work items with any rich text will be rendered as read-only using the existing rich text editor that we have in Eclipse client. This is a change in behavior. We also would be providing a visual indication that the content is read-only and a hyperlink to open the item in the web. Now with this approach, we still had focus issues, especially if you are a Mac user and if you are using the current rich text editor in Eclipse client, you would see a number of focus issues using the editor. And the next thing with this approach was the edit live editor is heavyweight if the purpose of the editor is just to render the content as read only. So we use these learnings into the next approach, which is our final solution for RTC 606. We make all rich text content read only in RTC Eclipse client and render it using a browser widget. This is very similar to the previous approach, except instead of using the rich text editor to render the read-only content, we use the browser widget. So with this approach, there are no memory issues. It works on all the supported platforms for RTC. Rich hovers, links works as expected. You can save rich text items using script or copy move or extracting work item from an existing work item which has rich text. Now let's take a quick look at how that looks like. So the first thing I would like to mention is about this advanced server property. By default, the rich text editing capabilities are disabled. To enable rich text editing, you must set the enable extended rich text presentation property to true on the advanced property page of the application server. So if you have this value set to false, then there is no change in behavior for you with this feature. However, if you have set this to true and if you have work items which have extended rich text content, then in Eclipse client it will be shown rendered as read only and you would have to go to the web client to edit the those attributes which are which contain rich text, which are the large HTML attributes. So the first thing, let's see the use case of creating a work item in Eclipse client. So I'm creating a new task. As you can see, the description is uh, large HTML, but I still can edit it. And then I go and save this task. So now I have created the task in Eclipse client. So this there is no change in the behavior here. This is working as it works today. You can also make text bold or italics and save it in the Eclipse client. These are not considered as extended rich text. Now this is an existing work item which does not contain any extended rich text. So you can make modifications to this description and save it. Say you're using extended rich text that was added in 603 or later. For example, the font size, font color, etc. As you can see, the description here now is not editable in Eclipse client. You have a link next to the attribute to open the item in web client. On hover, it also gives details of why the content is read only. The final messages would be slightly different from what you see now as they are being reviewed by our UI team. When you click on the link, it opens the work item in an external browser. You can copy the text from a work item containing extended rich text using Ctrl C or Command C on Mac and paste it into a description of a new work item. If you paste it into a description of a new or existing work item, in Eclipse client, when you paste it, it strips any extended rich text related content and converts it into plain text. The same thing if you paste on web, then it preserves the formatting and the links. You can copy or move work item which contains extended rich text and the formatting is preserved. So as you can see over here, I try to move to a different project and I still have the extended rich text content and description, and I can save this work item. You can also create work items from a template that contains work items which has extended rich text. As you can see over here, I created a new work item using that work items template, and this work item had extended rich text, which is why it shows as read only in the Eclipse client. One thing to note is that it is only the extended rich text content which is read only. So in Eclipse client, I can still make modifications to other attributes, like I can update the summary, I can add tags, I could change the owner, the priority, the plan for, and any other attributes which is not a large HTML attribute and contains extended rich text. And I can save it in Eclipse client. Here is a presentation layout where you can have more than one large HTML attribute, And in this case, the description is the large HTML attribute which has extended rich text, and there are two presentations for another custom large HTML attribute which again has extended rich text. So as you can see over here, the link to open the item in web client and indicating that it's read only is shown right next to the presentation, uh, uh, where in this case and in the case of description, it is a presentation which has a label. In the third case, it is a presentation without a label. So in all cases, we show the hyperlink to open the item in web client right next to the presentation. The main advantage of this approach is to support rendering of future rich text features in Eclipse client. Now the Eclipse client I'm showing is connected to a server simulating a post 606 server, where we have hacked the ability to add images and tables in the work item editor. Say we add the support to include images or tables in a work item editor, and this feature will allow to render those new rich text attributes in the Eclipse client. So the N-1 client behavior would not change. Pre 603 N-1 client, if you open a work item with extended rich text, make a modification to the content of the description and try to save the changes, you are shown an error which prevents the work item from being saved. In 603 to 605 Eclipse client, if you open a work item with extended rich text, make a modification to the content of the description and save the changes, it allows to be saved. To summarize this feature, we do not have any plans to get rid of the work item editor in Eclipse client like the plan editor. This solution makes the large HTML type attribute presentation read only if it contains extended rich text content. If users are not using extended rich text, there is absolutely no change for them. If users are using rich text now or have plans to use them later, and if the large HTML attribute content contains any extended rich text content, then they will be able to edit it only in web, but can still use the work item editor in Eclipse client to update all other work item attributes. If users use the rich text now or later and the large HTML attribute content does not contain any extended rich text content, then they can edit it in Eclipse client or web client. The positives of this solution is that it paves the way for us to make progress towards adding more rich text capabilities like tables, images in the web client, which can also be viewed in Eclipse client in a future release. Another feature many users request is for rich text in comments, and with this approach we can show rich text in comments as well in future releases, optionally making the comments editable in web client. The existing rich text editor in Eclipse client has many known issues and limitations, and that makes it difficult and frustrating to use. Specifically in Mac, this solution helps us fix these existing problems in the product. The downside of the approach is that users cannot edit rich text in Eclipse client and need to move away from Eclipse client to web client if they want to edit the content which have extended rich text. However, we provide a link to open the item in the web with an informational text that it's read only on any large HTML presentation that can be edited on the web only, thus making it easy as well as obvious to users. Thank you. I hope this demo was useful for you.